It's time.
It's a Friday once again.
Hello, my fellow freaks, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you have all had a great week. Yes, this is another anxious standing, I have to move around one. For all you Vivian fans out there, she is back here on the shelf within view. And this week, it is finally time for us to cover, well, it's time to cover the film that I probably should have watched a very, very long time ago. Like, I feel like I should have accidentally stumbled across this film when I was in middle school. And I am probably the very last person on Earth to watch this. At least I feel like I know I'm not, but I feel like I am. In a way, it feels silly to make a video reviewing this film that is so old and already so beloved. Like, STARGUTZZZ, we already know that this is a good movie. Why are you even reviewing it? Trust me, I know, I feel silly. But I haven't seen it yet. And I know a few of you have recommended me make a video on this film because you want to hear my opinions on it. And not only have I been anxious, extremely anxious, to watch this for like a few years now, but I also felt like it was my duty to make sure that I get in this review, get in this watch before we spend our summer in Tromaville. Like, I have to witness this ultimate Troma classic before we go and spend our summer there, right? And so because of that, this week we are going to be looking at The Toxic Avenger from 1984 and directed by Michael Hertz and Lloyd Kaufman. By the way, I know in the past I have pronounced it Kaufman. I understand now he pronounces it Kaufman. My instinct to say it Kaufman is because I study German, so that AUF, Auf, that's what I see. But I know now that it's not correct. He pronounces it Kaufman. And like I said, I feel like I am the very last person on Earth to ever watch this film. So the chances are that you, dear viewer, are only watching this video just to witness another person become a massive fan of this like crazy, incredible cult classic. And that's basically what this is. Anyone who is a regular viewer who has been here long enough could probably just assume that I will fall in love with the Toxic Avenger, and you are completely right. So I hope that you guys like circle jerks, because that's what this week's video is. We're just doing one big massive circle jerk discussing all the ways that the Toxic Avenger is a fantastic, awesome film. But first, if you're new here, hi, my name is STARGUTZZZ. Any kind of like running, crashing, loud noises that you might hear going on in the background, those are my cats. Also, my movie reviews tend to be a discussion of elements that I find to be good or bad about a piece, rather than just giving you this whole play-by-play of every single little thing that happens in it. In other words, I refrain from spoilers as much as possible, but they will arise depending on the discussion that I'd like to have about the film. If you have somehow not seen The Toxic Avenger, meaning that I am not the last person on Earth to watch this film, if you would like to watch The Toxic Avenger before or after this review, you can do so on our very good best friend Tubi TV. I also want to note, I'm not sponsored by Troma, but Troma does have their own direct streaming service called Troma Now for $5 a month. I'm not sponsored, but go support Troma's thing. But it is also on our best friend Tubi, and I will provide that link in the description below, making it that much easier for you to go out and watch this movie. But before you do, let me give you two warnings. The dog dies, and the kid dies too. The kid gets absolutely fucking obliterated. So with all of those pleasantries out of the way, let's just jump right into this discussion of me. Just a video of me stating the obvious of things that people already know about this film. Melvin is a meek janitor at the Tromavilla Health Club who routinely gets harassed by Bozo and his gang of degenerate friends. However, when one of their pranks goes awry, Melvin falls into a barrel of toxic chemical waste that changes his life forever. Melvin transforms from a total geek into a deformed yet incredibly strong superhero with a natural inclination to sniff out criminals and put them in their place. But when one of these criminals ends up being the Tromaville town mayor, a target is placed on Melvin's head to put a stop to his crime-fighting reign of justice. And you'll probably notice that I am refraining from calling him Toxie just yet, and I'll probably instead be calling him Melvin throughout this video. And that's only because he's technically not called the Toxic Avenger yet. The title and the name, the Toxic Avenger, was kind of given after the film was made. Like, from what I understand, they weren't sure what they were even going to call the film yet, or what he was going to be. So throughout the film itself, he's usually referred to either as Melvin or the monster hero. And so that's how I'll be referring to him in this video. Instead of Toxie, I'm more than likely just gonna be calling him Melvin. And by the way, put a little pin in the fact that they're calling him the monster. I'm a literature nerd, and if you know that I have to talk about it later on. Also, can we just get a very short round of applause for the fact that Hertz and Kaufman did what Terrifier 3 was too scared to do, which is brutally murder a child on screen. That shit was badass. I just want to shout that out and give a tiny round of applause. Thank you, Hertz and Kaufman. There's already a lot that I absolutely adore about Toxic Avenger, and I've only watched it twice so far. And it's not solely because of the kid dying and the very gnarly practical effects that follow it, but as somebody who is new to the Tromaverse, having only watched 2 films before this one, Redneck Zombies and Poultrygeist, I do want to include how I was a little bit thrilled or happy, excited to kind of have some of the questions I had about Tromaville and its existence kind of answered with the Toxic Avenger. Or maybe what I mean to say here is that I was very thrilled to understand that the whole concept of there being a Tromaville is something that was established really early on within Troma's existence, and it's not something that was created because of their hype. It's like Troma just said, yeah, we have like an entire, this is our universe. This is our town. Tromaville, New Jersey, right? They're in New Jersey. If you saw my Poultrygeist review, then you know I expressed my absolute love and admiration of an entire town being focused on the brand of comedy and satire that Troma uses. Or that the town in and of itself almost feels like one giant caricature of America. I was obsessed with that when watching Poultrygeist, and I'm just like really happy to learn that the whole Tromaville concept was something that was established so early on within Troma's existence. I don't know, I'm just happy about it. I love Tromaville. I'm really excited to, spend my summer there this year. Anyway, that's all that I have for the synopsis section. Let's just go ahead and get the main meat and bones party started. Let's get this party started. Just like with Redneck Zombies and Poultrygeist, the writing, the story, the characters, the comedy, everything, every aspect about this film feels so effortlessly golden.
You said you were gonna take me to see the David Bowie concert. He's not David Bowie.
Although I've only now in total watched 3 Troma films, I feel like I can say with certainty one of my absolute favorite qualities in a Troma picture is how absurdly extreme and cartoonish every single character is. And of course the Toxic Avenger has some of the craziest characters I've ever seen in cinema. I know that Melvin is the star of the show here, and of course I like Melvin, but one of the characters that I very first fell in love with simply because of how insane they are is Bozo.
Are you watching me? I'm gonna kill it! I'm gonna kill it! I'm gonna kill it! Ah!
I feel so ashamed to say that I love Bozo's character, but I do. He is such a piece of shit, but he is a perfectly written piece of shit. I mean, if you're going to write horrible, obscene, fucked up characters, this is kind of the way to do it. He is just the most comically insane version of a shithead bully jock, and even though he does a lot of bad things, I can't help but love it every single time that he's on the screen. And well, I guess out of the whole crew, it's not just him that's extreme and insane and very how do I want to put it? I said degenerate before. Deplorable, detestable. So many D words that we could use for for this gang of characters. But him and his whole gang, they're all horrible. And in some ways, I actually think that the women are more horrible than the men. What are their names? Julie and Wanda? Don't tell me that they are not potentially worse than Bozo and Slug when Wanda is like to a Polaroid of aforementioned dead child. These guys are fucking lunatic freaks. They're so off the wall, cartoonishly evil, and just like, I hate them, but it's also hard to not somewhat love them. Does it even make sense? But out of all of them, Bozo's the one that I would admit to liking the most. Anytime he gets stressed, it just absolutely kills me.
He's stressing me, Julie. He is stressing me.
Oh, Bozo.
I can't take it, Julie. I cannot take it. He is screwing up my karma.
Like with John Waters' pictures, I do believe that the writing and the performers kind of need to work together well in order to fully achieve the vision, or maybe fully achieve the level of insanity required to appropriately sell the vibe of a Troma film. Again, I've only seen 3 films, but out of these 3 films that I've seen, I feel like I can tell what the vibe of a typical Troma movie is. And you might hear me either now or in the future compare Troma and John Waters quite a bit, just because these are 2... I understand that Troma is the company, but I'm kind of just using it as an umbrella for like Hertz and Kaufman, just to make it simpler to say. I don't know. But both of these filmmakers really lean into camp, really lean into absurd, disturbing, fucked up stuff, while also providing a real message about society. There's just like a lot. I feel like there's so many comparisons between Waters and Troma. And one of those things is the energy of the characters, how it's written, and how the performers kind of need to help pull the weight to bring the energy to life and to complete the vision, to give it the right vibe. Is that all making sense? I think so. So not only is the writing crazy, but in all of the Troma pictures that I've seen, like Waters, I feel like the performers themselves pull a lot of weight to help bring it to life, and I definitely saw that in the Toxic Avenger. I mean, like, all the performers in the Toxic Avenger, they all have their perks. There's not a single performer that I thought did a bad job or like was not as, I don't know, good as others. I don't know. They all brought something to the table. They all helped to like create the appropriate energy that the film was trying to have. They have the perfect level of insanity and absurdity for Troma. Am I rambling? Is this getting through to you? It's one of those days where I don't know if I'm conveying it enough or if I'm just rambling. So far, out of all the Troma films that I've seen, I don't think there's been a single time that I've ever been disappointed or bored by the performers or even by the writing. Like, it just feels like it's 100% of the time. As I already mentioned, I do love Bozo's over-the-top energy and over-the-top insanity, but an example of a character who isn't quite over-the-top or insane or crazy, but I still love a lot and I love the way that they're written, is Sarah. By the way, I also just want to include here how much I love the way that our Troma guys write female characters. I feel like that should be the biggest compliment ever. But both Waters and Troma, these are both filmmakers that, again, I love the way they write women, because they will make the women as stupid as men, as insane as men, as nasty as men, as fucked up as men. They basically make women on like an equal playing field with men when it comes to their personality and how they behave and what their role in the story is. I don't know, I just want to include that. So far, I have not seen a woman in Troma that I think is poorly written. I usually almost always love whatever stupid dumbass girl is the main character. Like Sarah, my beloved Sarah. I love her so much. She is like the love child of Frankenhooker and Wendy from Poultrygeist, and how could you not love her? I'm so happy nothing bad happened to her. If something bad happens to her later on, please do not tell me. Please protect Sarah at all costs. She is so adorable.
Don't trip over the step, Melvin.
What?
I better get my cane.
And as a freak who loves an unconventional romance story, of course I was absolutely obsessed with the fact that Sarah and Melvin were an item. I thought it was really adorable. Like, I'm sorry, but listen, maybe I'm not super into romance movies, but I can't help it. I'm a girl and I love love. However, it's not solely the characters and the writing that have this crazy cartoonish quality about them, because the film does open with a warning to the audience about there being extreme violence taking place. And it is not kidding. The level of violence, gore, and body horror that the Toxic Avenger has is as over the top and as insane as the performers and the writing, which again is something that I've found in other Troma films. I'm sure it will continue to be a theme, and I'm very happy about it. As I said, it's like every aspect of this film, they are just 100% of the time. Obviously, I was very impressed with all of the practical effects taking place and all of the gore. Obviously, the scene with the kid's head getting crushed is absolutely gnarly. I do see how it could shock and unsettle certain audiences, especially anyone who is not expecting it to happen, because it looks pretty fucking insane. I did explore IMDb's little trivia page, so I feel like it would be cool to share with you guys how it was done, but then again, maybe you don't want to know how it's done. I'm gonna share it anyway. They basically put like a bunch of food coloring and corn syrup within a melon, and then it says that they like put it into the dummy and ran over it, and that's how they got the effect. Super cheap, but like really really crazy looking. But I love that the trivia page has stuff like that, if that's true, but I don't have reason to believe that it wouldn't be true, and it also kind of makes sense. There's another death though later on that I actually love a lot, and it might actually be my favorite in the film because it displays some cool badass practical effects. It's whenever there's a drug dealer that gets his head crushed in half by like a weight. I don't know what to call it other than like the dumbbell death, but it's technically not a dumbbell. Anyway, the bottom half of his face remains, and he seems like he's lifting up or something, and his head is like squirting blood and his tongue is sticking out and it's wiggling, and it's just like so gnarly, so nice. That might be my favorite death scene in the movie. And I also just feel like it would be completely wrong of me if I did not mention the little old lady getting thrown into a dryer.
No sticky, no washy.
Absolute Kino. Pure cinema. What else could you need from a movie? And I guess to end this short discussion on the practical effects, I want to add another bit of trivia. Again, just something that I found interesting. One of the criminals that Melvin comes across, his name is Frank, played by Larry Sultan. He gets his arm pulled off by Melvin during a fight, and I found it very interesting to learn that Sultan actually only has one arm, and that he was wearing a prosthetic arm the entire time leading up to Melvin tearing off his arm. I don't know. I just thought it was cool and I wanted to share that. I didn't even notice that his like right arm wasn't moving the whole time, but apparently it wasn't because it's just a prosthetic because the guy only has one arm anyway. However, despite the Toxic Avenger's very cartoonish tone, it still provides a serious message and some serious commentary on our society, much like Poultrygeist did. If you're new here, hi, my name is STARGUTZZZ again. I really love it whenever something is like goofy, campy, immature, maybe even super disturbed and fucked up, yet it still provides an important message or important commentary on something happening within our actual society. And the way that the Toxic Avenger does this is through the political powers of Tromavilla and basically how the mayor doesn't give a fuck about his citizens. That kind of sounds like somebody, but who? Really, I feel like most superhero narratives are just derived from average citizens needing somebody who actually fights for them. And damn, does Melvin protect and serve Tromaville. Now, I don't really have a ton to say about the mayor, simply because the message isn't something that is that leaned into. Like, I kind of feel like some of the messages and commentaries within Poultrygeist were very leaned into, and here within the Toxic Avenger, it's kind of just a little bit more surface level. You know, there are some fewer examples to showcase. They don't really lean into it for the narrative, but that doesn't mean that it's not happening. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist in the narrative. Typically how it's showcased within the film is through like the political powers that be being corrupt and having conversations about ways that they plan to screw over their own citizens just for their own benefit.
The zoning board has designated the old Rollins chemical plant as the new toxic waste dump site. Now that's contaminated but valuable waterfront property. We think it's a crime to let that property go to waste as a dump.
You are aware, of course, that that would place our new toxic chemical dump just 20 feet from the reservoir for the entire area.
And there's not like a whole lot of examples there, but it is enough to see that they're making some kind of commentary on corrupt government powers and how most of the time government officials can be, they're just fucking criminals. So even though there's not a whole lot going on here and it's not something that goes super in depth in the narrative, I still feel like it was something important to bring up because it is still there and there is still like commentary being made, or at least like satire, parody, whatever you want to call it. I think in one of the conversations they're talking about like tainting the only good drinking water that Tromaville has, and upon hearing that I was like, I think maybe Flint, Michigan still doesn't have drinking water, do they? How long has it been? Do they though? Let's look it up. On Google, it says Flint has secured a clean water source. Let me know if that's true or not, because I thought they were still having problems. Let me know in the comments. But I'm digressing. More so in this section, I would like to tuck your ears off and sound like a absolute crazy person over the fact that the Toxic Avenger is just a superhero version of Frankenstein. I told you, I'm gonna bring up the fact that they're calling him the monster, and it's not just the monster. On my first watch, I started to get some Frankenstein vibes shortly after Melvin took Sarah home, and it's probably just because she was blind, and a lot of their interactions within this moment, it did remind me of the creature's interaction with the blind man. I believe it happens in the classic film. If not, I am very specifically, because this is a comedy, I did kind of specifically think about the Young Frankenstein version and the Young Frankenstein version of the blind man and the creation interacting with one another. I think especially when Sarah is reading Melvin's palms, it really gives me some Young Frankenstein vibes.
What big hands you have. I bet you're very strong. You're going to become a very important man. Let me see your other hand. Oops. Sorry.
But then upon my second watch, I started to notice more parallels, or maybe just more similarities that the Toxic Avenger had with Frankenstein. One of which I already mentioned, they do call Melvin the monster, which is what Frankenstein's creation is typically called, just the monster. The only derivative here is that sometimes he's called the monster hero. Another similarity that I found, not only how people react to him, but how he reacts when people see him. The way he reacts when people see him also gave me major Frankenstein vibes. Also, this one's gonna be a stretch, but I don't care. I'm gonna say it anyway. His mother, aka his creator, is frightened of him and basically kicks him out to figure out life in this new body on his own. And afterwards, when he's on his own and trying to find a new home, he ends up like making this makeshift shack. And if you didn't, I don't know if it's in the original film. I can't remember, but I do remember Frankenstein the novel. For a very long time, the creation is secluded by himself in a shack, and that Melvin going to create his makeshift home, which is just like a shack of trash and radioactive material, that gave me Frankenstein vibes. He is also a Byronic hero. Both the creation and Melvin are Byronic heroes. Really, some of the only things that I'm not seeing here, which would further make it like Frankenstein, is, well, Melvin is not made of a bunch of dead people. And also, the town actually loves Melvin and sees him as a good person. Meanwhile, within Frankenstein, they see the monster or the creation as something bad, and they're all trying to stop it, and they don't see the good in him. So basically, it's just like if Frankenstein's creation became a superhero and got a good ending. It's just if Frankenstein's creature actually had people not be scared of him and understood that he's just as human as anybody else. I don't know, that's at least what I saw when watching this. Like I said, this is probably a little bit of like a crazy tangent that maybe it doesn't have anything to do with anything, but I'm so you can't convince me that maybe Kaufman and Hertz weren't possibly inspired by the narrative of Frankenstein when they have made, like, what? I think 3 films parodying Shakespeare? Okay, let me explain a little why I'm saying 3 Shakespeare films. It's because I've looked at all the films that Troma has produced themselves. It's not like their distribution list. It is a list of Troma-made films. And while the only ones that I think Kaufman had anything to do with were Romeo and Juliet and Shakespeare Shitstorm, both of which we will be looking at this summer, I did want to point out, this is why I'm saying 3, is because on this list, there is technically a third Troma film. It's not done by Kaufman, but it's still of a Shakespeare production. So that's why I'm saying 3. They parody Shakespeare. They've probably fucking read Frankenstein enough to be inspired by it and do a little bit of a reimagining of that narrative. You know what I mean? So on one hand, I understand how it feels like a crazy stretch. On the other hand, I don't think it's that much of a stretch to say. I don't think it's a straight up retelling, but I do feel like it's somewhat of a reimagining, or they at least had to be inspired by Frankenstein in some way. Maybe I am just an insane literature person who sees like the patterns and the repetitions and the similarities and parallels between narratives way too much. But again, is it really that much of a stretch to say that the Toxic Avenger is mildly inspired by Frankenstein? I don't think so. I really don't. Overall, I don't know. I just immediately fell in love with the Toxic Avenger. I don't know what you want me to say here. Literally 0 complaints about this movie at all. No issues whatsoever. No complaints to be had. Didn't hate a single thing. Was not annoyed by a single thing. Loved every single moment of this film. What do you want me to say? Like with Poultrygeist, I barely took any notes while watching this film just because I was so into it and I just really wanted to sit there and take it in and really enjoy it. Like I said, I feel like this week's video, this is just a video for other people that like the Toxic Avenger and want to hear affirmations of like, yes, this movie is badass. And this movie, listen, it's not even, this is not a film where I can even like express another perspective on why somebody might not like the Toxic Avenger like I sometimes do in these reviews, because I have no idea why anyone wouldn't like the Toxic Avenger. I think if you don't like the Toxic Avenger, you probably just have a stick up your ass. I love every aspect about this film. I hate that I never watched it sooner than this moment, but I am very excited to watch its sequels, although I heard one of the sequels is pretty bad. I don't care, I'll probably still be watching it. And I am so happy to have watched this before our summer in Tromaville. I don't know, I feel like this video is a little bit boring. Like I said, I think this is just attracted to people who want to join the circle jerk of listening to how good this film is. That's who this video is for this week. So what tier will I be giving the Toxic Avenger? Man, you know, I feel like right in this moment, I'm still kind of trying to decide where I want to put it. On one hand, like with Six String Samurai, I wonder if I should just go ahead and preemptively put it in the S tier because that's just where it's going to end up anyway. There's a part of me that just wants to put it in A tier for now. However, I know as I rewatch this and I know as time passes, I'm gonna kick past me in the ass for not just going ahead and putting it in S tier because that's probably just where it deserves to be. I definitely think this is an S tier film. The only thing is that I hate to give something S tier that I haven't watched multiple times over a few years. The only reason that I did it for Six String Samurai is because I knew that's eventually where it would end up, and I haven't really budged on that. So I don't think I'll budge on the Toxic Avenger either. I think let's just go ahead and preemptively put it in the S tier because I know over time that's just where it's gonna go. Wow, what a shock. The Toxic Avenger, a film that everyone has watched except for me up until this moment. What a shock that it's getting in the S tier. Wow. But I mean, like, how can it not? There's nothing I hate about it. There's not a single thing that I could even understand that someone would hate about it unless they were a prude. And with that, we are done with yet another movie review. Thank you guys so much if you stayed all the way until the very end. If you like this video, please make sure you stab that like button. It is a free and easy way to help support this channel. Also, is there a film that you would like to hear my opinion on? Put it in the comments down below and maybe it'll turn up in a future video. Also, did you just love hearing me ramble so much that you would like to hear me ramble about more B movies, weird to-be finds, disturbing cinema, Troma, fantasy? If you would just like to hear me ramble about more movies, please consider hitting the subscribe button and that bell icon so you can be notified every time I make a new upload. Which, by the way, new uploads are every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On the screen are some of my socials as well. Here on the screen as well is my live channel if you would like some additional STARGUTZZZ content. We unfortunately will not be going live this weekend. I have a bunch of stuff planned that I gotta do. However, if plans change or anything, I will inform you guys in the community tab, both here and on the live channel. I'm so sorry to those who tune in and who enjoy the streams. I got shit going on this weekend, man. But if you have not watched any of our streams before, all previous streams are saved on the live channel. Again, if you just are in that dire need of additional STARGUTZZZ content. And now, one final thank you so much to all of you who stayed all the way until the very end. Our time here is precious, and the fact that you have used your time to sit here and just join a jerkle circ of talking about the things that I really loved about the Toxic Avenger. Like, that's literally all this is. Can I even call it? There's no point to even review this movie. Like, everyone already knows it's good. But I needed to get it done because I need to watch the Troma classics before we go there this summer. But anyway, thank you so much for listening to me ramble. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time and the time that you have spent to sit here and watch this video. I appreciate you and I appreciate your time very much. And since we aren't doing a live stream, I guess I will see you guys in the next video. But until then, please have a great night and stay safe out there.
And you can tell all your scum friends that things are gonna change in this town. I'm not just another pretty face.